So let's get started. I want to just start off as a reminder for everyone that we are recording this webinar. It'll be on our website within about a week or so. And then also, I'm going to spend some time sharing some slides, but as questions come up, please enter them in the chat, and then we'll have some time at the end of our session to answer as many questions as we can get to today. So let's go ahead and start. This is the Connecting with Catlin admissions webinar. We're going to be talking about middle school today. Our agenda is a quick welcome, which we're doing now. We'll talk about middle school admissions for about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A, and we will wrap up by 12:45. That's the goal. So let me start off. For those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Ellen Stott, and I am the Assistant Director of Middle School Enrollment here at Catlin Gable School. I've been at Catlin Gable for about 5 years and had a variety my first year leading middle school admissions, and I am very excited about this opportunity. Our middle school community at Catlin is a really special place, and I am so excited to show it off to families and help bring in new students each year. I also want to introduce a couple of other colleagues. Mary Jakob is also on the Zoom today behind the scenes. Mary is our Director of Financial Assistance. She's been at Catlin for many years and is an amazing resource. And if any financial aid questions come up today in the chat, Mary will be available to answer them. We also have Mara Beth, who's our data manager on our enrollment team, who's also behind the scenes today and will be available to answer any technical application questions, that kind of thing, if those sort of questions come up. I also do want to mention as well that we are all available via email anytime to answer questions and support you in the application process. You can always email enrollment@catlin.edu, and we are happy to connect. All right. So let's start off with some opportunities to learn about Catlin Gable School. First off, attend an admission event like you're doing today. This is a great first step. I also highly recommend our open house coming up this Sunday, October 27th, from 1 to 4 p.m. If you want to explore spaces, chat with teachers, see our school firsthand, and have more freedom to explore than you would on a normal school day or during a tour, open house is the place for you. So I really hope that everyone is able to join us for that event. We also have a couple of middle school information sessions. There's one on December 11th, one on January 15th. And those are going to be very similar. So it's kind of pick whichever one works best for your family schedule. Those are 1 hour in the evening, and it's an opportunity to connect with teachers, connect with other middle school community members from some things like athletics or outdoor education or that kind of thing. We're going to have an arts performance, and then we'll also have some teachers and students there doing a panel to answer your questions. So that'll be a great event. So I highly recommend coming to either the December or the January middle school info session. You can also schedule a private tour anytime. Our campus tours are 1 hour long. They are led by either myself or one of our middle school parent ambassadors. And it's an opportunity to walk through the middle school, pop into a couple of classrooms, maybe chat with a teacher if there's availability there, and then have some time to sit in my office and get any questions you might have answered. So it's an optional part of the admission process, but I do highly recommend, especially if this is your first year applying to Catlin Gable. A required part of our application process is the student shadow day. I recommend that families do that earlier in the process if possible. It's a great time for your student to explore our middle school and see if it would be a good fit. We'll talk a little bit more about shadow days later on, but we do have some openings still in December and in some openings still in November and in December. And then later on, we'll open up some January dates as well to try to accommodate schedules as best we can. Another option that you have is if you email us at enrollment enrollment at catlin.edu. We are happy to connect you with a Catlin Gable coach, a parent, an alumni, a member of our community, and they can answer any questions you may have. And then finally, the last kind of exploration that we recommend is come and join us at one of our athletic events or an arts performance. I believe basketball will be starting soon for the middle school. If you email us at enrollment@catlin.edu, we're happy to share that schedule with you. And then we also have our middle school art show coming up on January 9th. And especially if you have a student who's interested in the arts, I recommend that. All of our visual arts will be on display from our media arts class, our studio arts class, and our woodshop class. And then there also will be a music performance and a drama performance. So those are always really special, fun times. So those are some options for how to learn more about Catlin Gable. And then let's talk about some numbers. I feel like this is what everyone always wants to know. So we'll first look at the orange bars on this graph. You can see on average from the last 5 years, how many students we have in each grade. So on average, the last 5 years, we've had 60 kids in sixth grade, 65 kids in seventh grade, and 66 kids in eighth grades. And those numbers might fluctuate by like 1 or 2 each year, but this is just the average. And then if you look at the two blue columns, it will tell you the number of students who apply and then the number of students who we are able to enroll who become new students in our middle school. So if you look at sixth grade, over the last 5 years, we've had on average about 70 sixth grade applications. And then we have been able to enroll about 19 kids, bringing our total class size to 60. So you can see for sixth grade, about a third of our class is new to Catlin Gable every year. We grow the class size from our rising fifth graders. There's about 40 of them who come up from Catlin Gable's fifth grade into sixth grade, and then we bring in 19 on average or so new kids. And then for seventh grade, you'll see that we grow the class size by about 5 more. That's to accommodate Montessori schools, but also we have students from all kinds of schools join us in seventh grade every year. And you can see on average, we have about 31 students apply to seventh grade, and we're able to admit on average about 8. And then for eighth grade, if we have any openings in eighth grade, it's typically if we have attrition from seventh to eighth. So that would be like if a family moves away and doesn't enroll their child again at Catlin Gable in eighth grade, then a spot would open up. So it varies quite a bit year to year, but on average, we've been able to admit about 4 students to eighth grade every year. I also just want to note too that the percentages of students we're able to enroll for each grade remain about the same. So I believe that it was, we're able to enroll about 27% of students that apply for sixth grade, 25% of students that apply for seventh grade, and 23% of students that apply for eighth grade. So it doesn't matter so much which year you're applying for, the likelihood of us being able to have a spot for you is about the same. And we always recommend that even if you're like not sure or you have wonderings about space or availability or things like that, we always recommend going through the application process because you never know what's going to happen. All right, let's go ahead and move on. I wanted to share with you a visual timeline about what our admission season looks like. So right now in October, we have open house coming up on October 27th. We also recommend scheduling a tour, especially if you're brand new to Catlin Gable. This is a great time to do that. November, maybe time to start thinking about scheduling a student shadow day. December, start thinking about making sure all of your forms are filled out. We have a questions for students form that students fill out, and then we have a question for parents form that parents, guardians fill out. We also have one of our info sessions in December, so that's an option. And then what I want to make sure that everyone's aware of is our Early Eagle discount. The deadline for that is December 19th. So our application fee is half off until December 19th. So if you are confident that you do want to go through the full application process, even though the deadline is not until February 4th, I highly recommend paying that application fee before December 19th so you can get the half off price. January, the key thing for then is making sure you're getting requests into your schools for school records. We do require 3 years of school records as part of our application. And then we'll have another middle school info session option in January on the 15th. And then our deadline, application deadline is February 4th. And that does come up pretty quick. So I recommend getting as much done early as you possibly can. Um, and then in March is when decisions happen. So we will email all of our admission decisions at the end of the day on Friday the 7th this year. And then enrollment agreements are due on March 19th. So families have just over 2 weeks to consider if Catlin is the right spot for them, if we were able to offer a place, to um, think through all the different factors. We'll have options to come back and tour again, options for students to come back and have a shadow day again. We want to make sure that families are really confident that Catlin is the right fit for them. And then, yeah, so enrollment agreements will be due on the 19th. Okay. Next up, I wanted to just go over real quick what our application looks like. So a few of these things were mentioned in the last slide, but we have those two forms, the questions for students, questions for parent guardians, and then the shadow day, which is a required part of the application. If you are an overseas family or if there's extenuating circumstances for why your student is not able to come and do a shadow day on campus, please email us and we're able to accommodate and come up with some alternative plans for you. But for the most part, we hope that every applicant will be able to come and do a shadow day on campus. Before the shadow day, there's a form called the pre-shadow day an interest form. And this is where students can talk about what classes they want to see, what interests they have. There's also a spot where students will designate if they would like to have a student host who has common interests with them, or if they want to have a student host who has specific classes and that kind of thing. And then on the actual shadow day, we will pair each applicant with one of our current students in the middle school who will be in the grade that they're applying to. So if your student is applying for sixth grade, then they will be paired with one of our current sixth graders and they'll spend the day with them. They'll get to go observe 3 classes. They'll spend break time together. They'll go to advisory group together. They'll have lunch together. They'll get to hopefully meet their host friends and chat with teachers and just kind of get to experience what it's like to be immersed in our middle school for a day. We also have a couple of enrollment activities that we do on the shadow days. We have what we call a team challenge activity, and that is when all of our visiting students on that day will participate in a 45-minute team building activity. And it's something that our middle school admission committee joins in on. And the goal of that time is to see like how students work together, how they are in community, what their communication styles are, and all of that just kind of gives a picture into what our applicants are like as people and what their preferences are and what they're excited about and all of that. And then our applicants also complete an on-site writing sample as part of their shadow day as well. And I'm always happy to chat more about what shadow days look like. I know it can be a really big deal, especially for students who are in 5th grade and maybe they never visited another school before or things like that. We do everything we can to make our shadow days low stress and fun and really helpful to our applicants and families so that they can see if Catlin would be a good fit for them. A couple of other things on the application I wanted to mention is we have our teacher evaluation forms. For 6th grade, we request a evaluation from the current English teacher and from the current math teacher. And then for 7th and 8th grade, we also request a teacher evaluation form from the current science teacher. And then we also ask for 3 years of school records. We recognize that students are applying halfway through the current school year, so we can have just the first semester of the 24-25 school year, and that is totally fine. And we're also like happy to work with you and be in communication about when those records will be available to us, because we know that that February 4th application deadline can sometimes come before certain school records are available. So as long as we're in communication back and forth, we're happy to work with you on that. And then moving on. Oh, I did want to just give a quick visual. This might look familiar to a lot of you, but if you haven't started an application yet in our admissions portal, this is what it looks like. And you can see on the left side of the screen, there's a checklist. So all of the things that I've mentioned in previous slides, you go through, and as you complete each thing, it gets marked off. Anything with a red asterisk next to it is required. And then we also have other things that you can complete as options that are resources to families, like attending events or different things like that. And that is all on your application checklist. And then one of the last things I wanted to talk about before we transition to Q&A in just a moment is how are admission decisions made at Kaplan Gable? It's really important to us that we have an equitable, ethical, and fair process. So we have admission committees at Catlin Gable. There's one for the beginning and lower school, there's one for the middle school, there's one for the upper school. Our middle school admission committee is made up of faculty and staff. Our middle school leadership, like our head of middle school, assistant head of middle school, are part of it. Our counselor and learning specialist are part of the admission committee. Our sixth grade team lead, team teacher or team lead teacher is part of the middle school admission committee. And then we have a handful of other teachers who represent different grades and different subjects. And then we also have our director of student services from our equity and inclusion office, who is also on our admission committee. And what we do as an admission committee is we observe and engage with applicants on their shadow day. And then our admission committee reads applications and discusses candidates to make sure that we're getting a full picture of each child who's applying to Catlin Gable. Every application is read by a minimum of 3 admission committee members, myself, and then 2 other members from the admission committee, to make sure that multiple eyes are seeing each child. And then what do we look for? We look for right fit. We want to see potential for student success. We want to see potential that the student will enrich the Catlin Gable learning community, and that the student and family are in alignment with Catlin Gable values and our mission. So I would say with that, it's not so much about perfect grades or the perfect resume or anything like that. We're looking for potential. We're looking to see if this family aligns with experiential learning and progressive education like we have here at Catlin. We hope to admit a wide variety of students from all different kinds of backgrounds, students with different strengths, students with different opportunities, introverts, extroverts, all of that. We believe that the best learning happens in community and in diverse communities. So we look to admit a wide range of different types of students. And then some additional considerations that do come into play as an independent school is looking through our institutional goals and priorities. We have a robust financial assistance budget, but it does have limitations, so that can be a factor at sometimes. And then also affiliations. We do everything we can to keep families together, and then to honor people with connections to our community, like if teachers and alumni or families who maybe they have 2 children at Catlin Gable and a third is applying, or things like that. But along with those affiliations, we also believe that it benefits our community as a whole when we bring in new families to the community as well. So all of that is taken into account. And it's a complex process, but we make sure to have as many checks and balances along the way as we can and be as transparent as we can. And then finally, I wanted to talk through the different types of admission decisions that you would see from Catlin Gable. So the first one would be an offer of admission. It's our welcome to Catlin Gable. We have a spot for you, and we really hope you're able to take that spot. And that would be if you receive an offer of admission on that March 7th decision day. You'll have opportunities to return to campus, take a tour, have your student do another shadow day, maybe Zoom with me or come chat in my office. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And at that point, the ball is in your court to decide if you would like to enroll at Catlin Gable School. The next decision would be an invitation to join our wait pool. This would probably be the most common response you would see. A couple things that I want to talk about with our wait pool is it is not a ranked list in any way. It literally is a pool. And then if a spot opens up later in the spring or summer, we would go to our wait pool and offer admission to a student from there. We keep our wait pool open until the very first day of school. I have seen movement in our wait pool all the way from the week after decisions go out in March up until the week before school begins. So if you are able to stay in our wait pool, we'll do our best to be in regular communication with you. And if a spot opens up to offer that. And then the last decision that you might see is a not this year decision. This is always the most difficult decision. It's always hard. And I do want to say that when we do have a not this year decision, it is only for the upcoming year. We know that students, especially young students, can change so much, so much year to year. So if you were to receive a not this year decision for sixth grade, we would encourage you to apply for seventh grade. I have seen students apply not us to not have a place for them at Catlin. And then when they apply again later, we do have a place for them. So it's always worth considering reapplying in the future. And I believe that that is everything that I had on my list that I wanted to talk to you all about today. So we should have some time for questions. You can go ahead and submit those in the chat. And then Sarah Nordoff, who is our Director of Enrollment, is going to be helping moderate our questions.
Great, thank you, Ellen. All really helpful information. Hi, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and see your questions in the chat and then pitch them to Ellen. So now's the time. If you have any questions about what Ellen has just said or anything else that's on your mind about the school or the admissions process, we welcome all the things. Financial assistance process as well. Ellen, a couple of questions came in while you were speaking, so maybe we can address those real quick. Mary addressed this first one, but maybe let's say it out loud just in case so everybody can hear it. This parent is wondering if you pay the fee early, can you still apply by the February deadline?
Yes. Yes. So you can pay the fee at any point, or but the rest of your application would still be due by February 4th. And then I guess I will also mention along with that is we do not begin considering applications until after February 4th. So even if you complete your application early, it's not first come, first serve or anything like that. And then we'll consider all applications together in February.
Great. So you pay that early Eagle discount by the December deadline, but you don't have to get all your stuff in until.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Cool. Super. This next question is about wondering, there's actually a couple questions related to components of the application and sort of how we weigh the different components. And then specifically, does sports play a factor in how we make admissions decisions in the middle school?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that there's any component of the application that is more important than any other. We've really considered over the years exactly what the component should look like. So every part is important. And then as far as sports go, for middle school, we hope to have a variety of sporty kids, of artsy kids, of maybe more like STEM students with STEM interests. So sports wouldn't, like if your student is really into sports, it wouldn't be something that makes your application stand out more per se, except for the fact that we do hope to admit a handful of sporty kids every year. And what it does, it just shows us like what students are interested in as well.
Thanks, Ellen. This might be a question for Mary Yaka. This parent's wondering if you can sort of hit the highlights of how would a family get started on the financial assistance process?
Hello, yes. Definitely, go ahead and in your admission portal, in your application, there is some links. You can also go to Affording Catlin Gable website, and there's links there to go ahead and look into it's a third-party provider called Clarity. And you can go and set up a profile and just kind of get a view into what the application looks like. Um, and you don't have to pay anything unless you intend to submit that application. So you can definitely go through and see what kind of questions are asked, what kind of information is required. But we selected this provider because the application process is pretty streamlined. It's pretty easy. It's mobile friendly. You can save and continue at different times to complete the application. So our goal would be that the financial assistance application is sort of the easiest part of your application, and that you can then focus more on all of the components that Ellen has talked about, which, definitely are require a lot of time and effort, and to be able to provide your best application. So our goal is that the financial assistance is the easiest. It's all online. And like I said, you can explore it, put all your information in, and then once you decide you're ready to submit, you can pay and submit that. Hopefully that answered your question.
Thanks, Mary. All right, Ellen, back to the admission application process. This parent's wondering, do we adjust for teacher evaluation forms from Montessori schools where one teacher instructs multiple subjects? And I know this is actually dynamic with a number of applications from a variety of schools, including most of our public school applicants have one teacher, math and language arts.
Yes. So what I would say in those situations, if we would ask if the same teacher teaches both math and English, we would ask that that teacher fills out the teacher evaluation form for each subject, because there are subject specific questions on each of the evaluations. So it's a little bit bigger of an ask because we're asking one teacher to fill out two evaluation forms, but there's really key information on both of those. So we do need both of them filled out.
Great, thanks, Ellen. This is a question about siblings. When you have kids applying from the same family, whether twins or students to like 6th and 8th, do we make the same decisions for those students? How does that work?
Yeah. So what we do is we try to honor families' requests. So if you do have multiple students applying to Catlin Gable, be it 2 kids applying to middle school, or maybe you have a child applying to middle school and a child applying to our upper school, you'll receive an email from us at some point, probably in February or so, asking if you would like the same decision for both students, or if you are okay with the potential for different students. Like perhaps we might be able to offer enrollment to one student, but offer a spot in our wait pool to the other student. Some families are okay with that. Some families would prefer for it to kind of be an all or nothing, for either both of their students to be admitted, or for it to be a wait pool decision for both students. So we do leave that up to families, and then we honor family requests. And then also, as part of our admission process, as much as possible, we do everything we can to try to keep families together.
Thanks, that's a hard one sometimes.
Yeah.
Great. So this family's wondering about the shadow day. Can you speak to it a little bit more? So the writing sample, how long is the day? Do parents meet beforehand and come and pick up after school? Sort of logistically, how does that all work out?
Yeah. So our shadow day is a pretty full day. I don't have the time in front of me, but I believe it starts during the 8 o'clock hour. So parents and families and students can all come to campus together to drop off their student for the shadow day. The student will stay on campus all day, but the parents just do drop off. However, we typically do a optional Q&A with our head of middle school right after drop off. If parents would like to stay and chat with Michelle, who's our head of the middle school, that's totally an option. But students will stay on campus all day and then be picked up around 3:30 or so at the end of the school day. What we do as far as the writing sample goes is we do it right at the beginning of the day. So students are dropped off, we're all gathered together, we do some introductions, we answer any questions. Part of my goal is to help put students at ease and to help them know exactly what they're walking into. I like to give as much information as I can if that's a student's preference, so there's no surprises. So after we say goodbye to families, I'll go off with all the students and we'll head over to our middle school building and go into one of the classrooms, and we'll do about a 25-minute writing sample. It's typically about 4 questions with prompts, and I kind of pitch it to the students. It's a little bit like journal writing, like we just want to see their thoughts, and it's kind of free flow writing. We worked with our learning specialist, Veronica, to make sure that it's something that feels accessible to most, I would say, 5th grade students. We also have the option students can handwrite, or we will have some iPads with keypads available if they prefer to type, with the hope that we're able to see students' best selves by providing them with whatever writing means they prefer. So that's just about a 25-minute writing sample. And then from there, we'll go back out into the main part of our middle school. Every visiting student will be matched with one of our current students. So there'll be one-to-one matches. So there's a current 6th grade student who will be focused on just one visitor for the day. And they'll go to 3 classes together. They'll go to lunch together. They'll go to advisory together. And then it just kind of depends upon the schedule of the day. But that team challenge activity that I talked about, that'll happen during one of the class blocks. And that can kind of vary based on the day. And then at the end of the day, we'll all gather back together in what we call our middle school commons, right by the entrance door to the middle school, and we'll say goodbye to our hosts. And I'll walk back with all of the visiting students to go meet parents and guardians for pickup. So it was a pretty fast-paced day. It can feel overwhelming. One thing I like to tell families is students often come in nervous, but then when I see them leave at the end of the day, it's typically all smiles, which always makes me really happy.
Awesome. I think
Mhm.
it is a really fun day. Okay, a couple of questions that I think have pretty quick answers. Family has applied before and they
Mhm.
want to reapply. Do we waive that application fee?
Yes, absolutely, we do. I should have mentioned that earlier, but yeah, if you've applied before, we are more than happy to waive the fee. Just go ahead and send us a quick email at enrollment@catlin.edu, and we're happy to take care of that for you.
Great. And
Can I add one thing to that?
Absolutely.
And maybe Maribeth can help too. So you have to start a new application first, or add your new application for the current year, and then there is then put in your request. That way we have something to waive. Otherwise, there's nothing to waive. Does that make sense? Maribeth, can you clarify?
Yes, correct. It does need to start a 25-26 application, and in the admission portal under the application fee, there's a link to request a reapplication waiver.
oh, good. Okay.
Good. Thank you so much, Mary and Maribeth. I'm glad you're here.
Well, yeah, I always learn things too on these
Mhm.
webinars. It's great. And then Ellen, this parents wondering if the slides will be available online, and I think we're posting the recording, right? And so the slides
Mhm.
in that.
Yeah. And I will say too, that if you have like a specific image that you want to see from these slides, you can email us at enrollment, and I'm more than happy to send you like a screenshot if you want something for your reference.
Okay. And do we notify families of the financial assistance decision at the same time as the admission decision?
Yes. You will receive a financial assistance decision along with an offer of enrollment. If we are able to offer you a spot in the wait pool, I believe you won't get a financial assistance decision, but I will let Mary Jakob clarify that.
That is correct. So admitted students will all receive their financial assistance decision. It will be a separate email. So look for that shortly after. You'll get it that same afternoon. And then if you're in the wait pool, you will not necessarily receive a formal decision. The only thing that I would add to that is before the decisions go out, we will notify families who have applied for financial assistance who don't actually qualify. They're not in the qualifying range. So you would know that ahead of time so that you can decide whether or not you wanted to move forward and continue on.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Thanks, Mary. This might be a question for Maribeth. This family's wondering about the school record form. Is it downloading now, or should families wait until January to submit that?
I'm not sure exactly what that is referring to. So I think they might be referring to their school's portal, maybe where they would download their records, which I'm assuming for the current year, they might not be available until early to mid-February. On our end, in the admission portal, under the school records checklist requirement, there is a link to a form where you would upload, once you've gathered all your school records, you can go there and upload them to submit them for your application. And that's available all the time. So if you have previous year's records right now and you want to submit those early, you can go ahead and do that. And then if you won't have your current year records until after the deadline, on that same form, you can request an extension for the current year records to be submitted a little past the deadline. Just let us know. I hope that answers their question.
Thank you, Maribeth.
You can always email us if you need more clarification on that.
Great. Okay. All right, Ellen, this is a question from a family who has a kiddo in a Montessori program, and we get this question a lot. They're wondering, is it a disadvantage to not apply to the middle school until 7th grade, either the admissions process or socially for students?
Yeah. I would say from the admissions perspective, not a disadvantage at all. Our yield percentage, the number of students that we're able to offer admission to versus a new number of students that apply, is really comparable to 6th grade. So I wouldn't worry about it from that perspective. And then as far as community goes, our 7th grade team does a lot to make sure that new 7th graders feel really connected in the 7th grade community quickly. We have a lot of steps in place from right after families enroll all the way through the beginning of the school year and on. For new families, for all grades, we have what we call our host family program. And after families decide to enroll at some point during the late spring, early summer, we pair you with one of our current families who will be entering the same grade next year. And they're there to be a guide and a new friend, and to offer support for both students and parents as you're joining the Catlin community. We'll have we'll have a few PFA, which is our Parent Faculty Association, events over the summer that are opportunities for connection. We usually do a new student hike in August, just kind of an easy hike over in Forest Park for our new students. This past year when we did it, almost all of the new 7th grade students joined, and it was really cool to see friendships forming in early August right away, that I've seen those friendships continue into the school year. And then our 7th grade teaching team does a really good job of making sure that our new 7th graders feel like an equal part of the community. And when you are coming into 7th grade, I believe 8 was the average number of new 7th graders coming in. So that is a bit of a community, an opportunity for connection just within the new kids, let alone with all of the current 7th graders. And I will also say too, Catlin Gable kids are always very excited when new students come in.
Great, thanks, Ellen.
Yeah.
This is a question about school records. If they are not in English, are parents responsible for translating the records? And Maribeth just reminded us of the answer to that, which I'm happy to just say, so that, yeah, okay. So it is the case that families are responsible for the translation of school records, and there's more details on the school records submission form about that. So our recommendation would be to start there. And then, as we've said, for a number of these things, if you still have questions about how that works, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and we can clarify further. Okay. This weekend, Ellen, for the open house, should families plan to be there for the full 3 hours, or could you pick a couple things to come to if you can't commit that amount of time?
Yeah, you can totally pick and choose. Our open house is kind of a join us when you can, stay as long as you can situation. What the day will look like. So open house officially begins at 1 p.m., but we'll have 4 different half-hour rotations that happen through the day. Or through the afternoon. And during those rotations, there'll be different sessions that you can go to, or you can drop into different academic classrooms, explore our arts building, things like that. And those begin at 1:15. So starting at 1:15 for half an hour, and then there's like a 10-minute break, and then we'll have another half an hour rotation and then a 10-minute break. So maybe if you can only come to 1 or 2 of those, that's totally fine. I would recommend coming to open house with an idea of what you want to see ahead of time. If you're like, I really want to make sure I chat with a math teacher and get a moment to meet the head of middle school. It'd be helpful probably if you know that you want to do that ahead of time, because there's a lot of options. When you come to Catlin, you'll be given a schedule where you can kind of look at the different options. And then right at the front of the middle school, we're going to have an info table with some of our parent faculty volunteers from the middle school, and they can also help you make sure that you get to see the things that you want to see. So yeah, you definitely come and go, and yeah, we welcome you to come for as much or as little time as you're able to. And then also on our website, I believe on our open house page, we also have some PDFs of the schedule posted. So you can also look at that ahead of time as well to see if there's anything specific that you're hoping to see while you're at Catlin.
Great, thanks, Ellen. I think we're gonna wrap up from there. We'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Just want to say a final thank you to everyone for being here today. I really enjoyed chatting with you all about admissions and sharing the opportunities that are available to students and talking through the process with you all. If you want to rewatch this recording, look for it on our website in about a week. You can also email us at enrollment@catlin.edu if you want any specific information from this slideshow. I'm more than happy to share. And then I hope to see you at an upcoming event, either at open house on Sunday, maybe at an upcoming shadow day or tour, or at one of our winter info events or the art show. And yeah, we're here for you. Happy to chat, happy to answer any questions you might have at any time. Thank you for being here today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.